All right, we're live.
Yeah, the little badge turns yellow and says live when we're live.
So yeah, so last week was interesting.
That was fun, but
That
yeah.
was fun.
I felt
Yeah.
a little bit like an outsider because I didn't
Well,
have
yeah, I
context for some
I
stuff,
felt
but
bad about that, Chuck. And actually, it was worse because your audio was really bad because you're on that slow connection. So you'd try to
yeah.
say stuff and we'd end up talking over you because it wasn't coming through very clearly. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's okay.
but yeah, so you just have to go work for Trackabout for a while and then
Exactly.
we'll be
I'm
good.
not cut out to work for anyone. Ever. Uh, it's funny, I get emails or calls from the recruiters periodically, and I'm like, I tell them all the same thing. Yeah, well, go to the users group. Don't talk to me because I'm not interested.
Yeah, yeah. I still get like recruiter emails several times a week. There was one like this. There's this guy that's emailed me the same email. He's got some kind of freelancing site, like an Odesk or Upwork wannabe kind of deal, and he's emailed me like 3 or 4 times now, and it's the same message every time, and there's no unsubscribe link. So he's officially being labeled as spam now.
Mm-hmm.
Leave me alone.
Yep.
Cool. So what's going on, guys?
Oh man, this has been quite the week. My wife was sick all week, so I basically spent my week running around taking care of the kids and getting kids to school and all that stuff. And it's really frustrating when you can't get stuff done.
Yeah, it is.
Really frustrating.
Yeah, we're gonna be starting the school thing here pretty soon. We're gonna be doing half-day kindergarten next year with our youngest or our oldest.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm thinking we might do is at least one day a week. I'd like to help my wife, and I'm thinking I can go and since it's half day and it's in the morning, maybe I can just work from there the whole time. So it's at a church actually, so it's a nice big building, and they've got like it's one of those mega churches, so it's got like a cafe. So it's
Mhm.
pretty much like I would be just working at Starbucks almost like. So it wouldn't be. I think it'll work out, but definitely
Yeah,
a shift.
Derek or Josh sitting in the pews,
Yeah.
getting his work done, humming a hymn. Oh, nice. But yeah, I guess I haven't been on since since CES, and then I had
Yeah.
JS Remote Conf, and then last week we talked to Larry, and I was at the cafe because my internet went out. So yeah, but yeah, so CES we went down to Vegas. I got to see a whole bunch of stuff. I actually had a few people offer to hire me while I was there. Speaking of that, and then it was funny. I actually ran into one of the hosts of JavaScript Jabber while I was down there because his company, he's in a startup, and their company was exhibiting. So
Oh, cool.
that was kind of fun. Lots of cool stuff. I might get a freestanding desk out of the deal.
Nice.
Because I was like, I'm happy to review it. I reach a number of programmers.
Oh, sweet. What company?
They're pretty new. They are what were they called? Autonomous.ai or autonomous.nyc were the
Okay.
two domains that they had.
Cool.
What their desk? I mean, it's the standard motorized standing desk. You know, it has like 4 buttons for 4 different pre-programmed positions. But it also has a wireless charging spot on it.
Oh, that's cool.
So
That's
if you
pretty
have,
cool.
yeah, so if you have one of the phones that'll do that, then you can just stick it on there and it'll work. It has a Bluetooth speaker attached up underneath, and
Oh, that's cool.
it has like a couple of other power features on it on their Pro version.
Nice.
And
I would love like a USB, like a built-in USB hub.
Yeah.
That would be
yeah,
super
that would be nice. So yeah, so I was like, yeah, and he was funny because the guy that I talked to, he's like, well, most of the people buying our stuff are programmers or startups who are buying them for programmers. So yeah, it sounds like you have that reach into our target market, and we could sell a whole lot more of these if you talked about it. So I emailed him. I haven't heard anything back, so I'm not holding my breath. But I sent him my mailing address, so it may just show up at my house.
Yeah.
Nice. Make sure you're clear on whether they want you to ship it back, because
Yeah.
some of them, like the one I'm at right now, is I got for free.
Hmm.
But a couple people offered to send me one for me to review, but I would have had to ship it back, and I'm really not
Yeah.
that interested in like packing it up again and taking it down to like wherever it is that you ship things freight. So
Yeah. Exactly. That makes sense. And I also got an alarm clock that has a USB hub in the back, and so I can charge like 4 devices off my alarm
nice.
clock sitting by
Nice.
my bed. So that's pretty nice. And there were a bunch of other things. I'm not going to go into all of the stuff that I saw there, but 3D printing had its own section, and home automation, home security all had their own sections. Apparently, Lowe's is actually getting their own line of home automation stuff that you can just build in to your house. So there's a lot of cool stuff. A lot of it has APIs, so if you're a programmer, you can program against it. And, yeah.
So instead of hackers being able to just crash your computer, now they can like take
Crash
over
your
your
house.
entire house.
Yep.
What could go wrong?
Yep. So that was a lot of fun. We also bought a car while we were down there. So yeah, my wife's pretty happy with the new wheels. The other one was just dying, so we got a deal.
Cool.
Turns out that Utah has a stupid law on the books, though, that you can't, for your driver's side and passenger side, you can't have it tinted darker than 22%.
Oh.
In California and Nevada, you can tint it to like as dark as you want.
Yeah.
And it was tinted to like 40%, which was really nice. So I had to get the windows retinted, which sucked.
Oh man.
Oh, I was gonna say just drive it around until you get caught. You probably won't ever. Like
Well,
I
it wouldn't
Florida
pass.
has some-
I had to take it in to get it inspected, and it would pass inspection.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because you two brought it in. Yeah, that's true.
I called my father-in-law, and he's like, "You should have just rolled down the windows when you pulled up." I was like, "I didn't know."
That's all right.
But yeah, so anyway, it's pretty nice. It's a 2006 Ford Expedition. It's the Eddie Bauer edition, so it has the sunroof and the power windows and the motorized seats and all that stuff. So made my wife happy. It was a significant upgrade from what we were driving before. So
Nice.
but yeah, JS Remote Conf I think is really the big news. I think the conference overall made about, it's hard to tell because I have ticket packages that people bought, but as close as I can tell, the conference made about $15,000.
That's good.
It was funny because the last day of the conference, or the Friday of the conference, was a huge sales day. The thing that was really interesting about it, I think I made like 10 grand that day, but it was people buying tickets for the next conferences, and 8,000 of it was one company buying a corporate ticket for 9 more conferences.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, I think one of you pointed out in the email that it was 80-20.
Yeah, totally.
Like, yeah, I should definitely see what I can do to get more of the corporations excited about
see
it.
that's what I was thinking too. Is like, I mean, if you have identified that there's one company that's willing to spend 8 grand to, buy tickets at one time, then there's more customers.
Right.
Like, just look for that customer profile and see if you can find more of them and a good way to contact them.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you can make a list of 100 and you can get a couple of them to sign up, right? I mean, that's gonna make.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, it'd be worth your time if you can reverse engineer, even talk to that customer, like figure out who actually pulled the trigger, who found out about it, and then who pulled the trigger.
Yep. I should go see if I can track them down. I have an email address at the very least, so.
Yeah.
Because that's how I tell them, here's how you get in. Yeah, I've got a few other companies that seem interested, but I think I got the impression from them that they were just going to pick and choose and then just buy corporate tickets for the ones they wanted when it's coming up.
Yeah.
So that's been going pretty well, and I'm continuing to develop the website. Of course, I'm paying somebody else to do most of that, but it's coming along pretty nicely, and I'm. So as far as finding more companies like this one, do I just email them and ask them what the deal is, or hey, I'm curious.
The customer that
Yeah, the customer that bought.
Yeah, I would. I mean, like, figure out find the email address in DPD or whatever you're using and start there. And I'll bet you that, well, maybe not the person that pulled the trigger might not be all that thrilled. But if you find the right person at that company, they're going to know who you are and they're going to be thrilled to talk to you. So.
Yeah, yeah. Find out how they found out about you and what what made them decide to make the purchase, and so.
Yep. I wouldn't be shocked at all to find out that they had somebody or a few people sitting in JS Remote Conf and said, "Yeah, we need more of this." So. But yeah, it's really I really do need to figure that out, because I think if I can crack that, then I'll probably at least double or triple what I'm making on each conference.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Oh yeah.
So
that's awesome. How many so that was how many seats was that? It's just unlimited?
It's unlimited for anyone in the company.
Okay. Is there a way to know how many people attend? Like, are they sharing a login of some kind, or
they're all sharing a login? I'm working on that part of it. What I want to do is I want to set it up so that with corporate, they can effectively just put in the email addresses for all of their employees that they want to attend.
Yep.
And then it'll just validate them off of a domain. So if it's like, widgetsrs.com, then anybody with a widgetsrs.com email address, they can just sign up. And that way I could see, okay, they paid 10x for the, 10x the individual price for their corporate ticket, and they have 20, 30, 40 people in here. I might find out that I may want to 15x it or something, or find some other way to make it more appealing where I can get a little bit more for the ticket. So yeah, Freelance Remote Conf is coming up soon. What I did this time is I actually had Mandy create coupon codes for all of the speakers, because most of the speakers have a following of their own.
Yeah.
And so I've seen it tweeted by Brennan Dunn. I've seen it tweeted by some of these other folks, and I'm like, yeah, sweet. So yep. So I got that all taken care of. The week of JS Remote Conf, I also switched banks. I'd finally had it. So I switched from Zions Bank to Mountain America Credit Union, which is just a local credit union. They have branches all over Utah, Idaho. They have one in Las Vegas. But they also are part of this credit union network. So if you go to any credit union that has a logo on the door, then you can just bank there.
Nice.
So, but yeah, they offer a whole bunch of business services for free and stuff like that. So I'm super happy with that. And I feel like I'm just talking about all the stuff I've got going on, but a lot happened this week. I hired a new developer this week. So I have 2 developers working for me now.
Off of Odesk,
no, funny enough, he actually listens to this show and heard me talking about thinking about hiring somebody, so he emailed me.
Oh, cool. Nice.
So, so I gave him a handful of tasks to do just to see, how he does with them, and then I'll make a final decision, I guess, in a week or so.
Man, and he'll publicly he's taking a big risk because then you'll be talking about it.
Yeah. Well, I guess I won't name names then, but anyway, I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited just to get some of this stuff done. Yeah. So the guy that's been working for me for the past 2 or 3 years, he's working on the remote conferences website, just getting the rest of the functionality I need into that. I kind of foresee him working on that through June at the longest, and then I'll probably move him on to something else. And then this other guy that I just brought on, he's working on devchat.tv and fixing a few things that I need fixed. So we'll see how all that goes. But yeah, he's a Rails developer, and I think he's done some Angular, which is helpful. And yeah, just it's pretty exciting just to have some people that can help me figure this stuff out. I also officially changed my title to CEO so that I won't be as tempted to do as much of the programming work anymore.
Nice.
Because for me, it's just this
founder.
It's not my job. It really is not my job. I mean, I can go do some programming. I'm planning on doing some speaking, so I'll have to do some programming to get ready for that. But yeah, I need to focus on this other stuff. So yeah.
plaque to put on your desk now. That's
Oh, there we go. Well, I was cleaning up my office, and I bought some frames so that I can hang stuff up. So
Oh, cool.
I've got for those of you who are audio only, I just held up my college diploma, so I'm going to hang that stuff up in here and things like that. But
I scanned in my college diploma and then shredded it. I'm not joking.
Wow, John is hardcore.
Along with my high school. Yeah.
I'm sure I have my high school diploma around here somewhere.
Yep.
But yeah, so I've got that, and I've got like my certificate for competent communicator and Toastmasters and stuff, and I'm planning.
John's gonna have a rude awakening one of these days when he gets pulled over and he tries to hand them his iPhone with his driver's license on it, and they're like, "No, this does not work." Like, well, I ran the other one through the chipper.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at it's my DocuSign is like it's me.
Yeah, I actually shredded my old driver's license because I just got mine renewed, and my daughter was in here, and I shredded it in about 3 credit cards, and she's like, "Dad, you're shredding credit cards? Why are you doing that?" And I'm trying to explain to her I don't want anyone to use them, and they sent me new ones, and she she goes and tells my wife, because she's worried that Dad's lost his mind.
See, that's one thing.
Yeah, it's okay.
We don't really have to worry about identity theft so much because it's really easy to prove your identity. I've more than once I've said, type simpleprogrammer.com. You have any doubt that I am John Sonmez?
Right.
That's better than a passport.
That's funny.
You can fake a passport, but you can't fake 5 years of online history,
yeah,
with your face.
Oh,
Nice.
that was another set of hoops I had to jump through. So I'm going to be in Amsterdam for NGNL in February, and I couldn't find my passport anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, what a pain in the butt. So I go on to the State Department website, and I'm looking around trying to figure out how do I get one replaced. And they're like, yeah, you just fill out these forms and send us all the stuff that you would have to send in to get a regular passport, and we'll send you new ones. You can expedite it so you get it in 3 to 5 weeks. Well, newsflash, I'm traveling in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So, so if I expedite it, it's probably going to show up after I need to get on an airplane. And so I Googled around, and I'm like, how do you get one faster? And I found a website called rushmypassport.com. And it turns out that travel agencies have some kind of deal with the State Department where they can actually really expedite passports in like a few days if need be.
Wow.
And so I paid an exorbitant amount of money and mailed all my stuff to them, and then they pushed it through, so I should be getting my passport on Monday. But I mean, it's ridiculous what you have to go through to get a passport. I had to go figure out where I'd left my birth certificate. I could find that. And then I had to make a copy of my driver's license and all this other stuff. And then in order to get it expedited by them, I actually had to, and I didn't know this, so I drove all the way over to the passport office because it was the only one that's open like during the day without an appointment. Because the other ones, they have like the wrong phone numbers listed, the one that's in my town. The wrong phone number's listed, and it's by appointment only. So if you show up there, they will tell you to leave. So,
it's like an Apple store or a Microsoft store now.
Yeah. So
those friggin' special now with your store that I have to make an appointment. Thank you.
Yep.
I can't just bring my stuff in. Yeah.
I went up there, and I have to have some kind of like letter of intent to allow this company to push my passport through. And so they're like, you need this letter. I'm like, okay, well, where do I get it? They're like, you need to call the company that's doing it for you. So I call them up, and they're like, yeah, you skipped a step. You have to go somewhere where you can get to a printer and print the letter. So I had to drive all the way back home. It was a half hour away. Print it off, and I had to call them up, and they verified all the documents, and then I printed that off, and then I took it back up, and those people verified all the documents. Oh, it was just such a pain.
I'm surprised you didn't need a power of attorney for.
No, apparently there's just some letter that allows them to just do that one thing for you. So, and it's a pretty standard thing. Because the people at the city office that I went to, they were just like, yeah, well, he's this kind of special case, and then just did what they did. So I had to pay them, and I had to pay the people expediting it, and I had to pay the State Department, and
that's what you get for losing your passport. It's called you got to pay stupid tax.
I'm sure it's in my house somewhere. Like I'm sure it's going to turn up here this week. I'm going to find it. So
Maybe you shredded it.
Yeah, I just scanned it and shredded it. Yeah, but the other thing that happened this week was that, so dare I admit this now, I hadn't paid my taxes since 2012, 2011,
no.
and I got a sponsorship for the conferences. Hired.com sponsored them all.
Yeah.
And so they sent me some money, and so I sent the IRS some money. A lot of money.
I bet the IRS was happy.
Yeah, I called them up.
Or at least less angry.
I called them up. I'm like, is there any way I can pay you with a credit card? And their phone number's like impossible to find.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just like, are you kidding me? I mean, really? But I guess they don't have to worry about customer service because if you don't play ball with them, you can just go to jail.
Yeah.
So I called them up, and I'm like, is there any way I can use my credit card to pay this or my debit card? And they're like, oh, yeah. You have to go submit this form through these specific vendors that we've approved, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, are you kidding? I'm like, what do you want me to do? Send a check? Yeah, we take checks. I'm like, who uses a check? I don't even have a checkbook. And then I'm like, is there any other way? Can I just like use my bank details to debit it? And they're like, oh yeah, we have a direct pay for that on our website. So I went in and I submitted 3 direct pays for the 3 years I had to pay taxes on. And yeah, that works fine. You go in, you put your information in, you put your bank information in, and you schedule it, and then it just comes out on the right day.
Wait a minute, how did you not pay taxes for 3 years?
Oh, I filed them, I just didn't pay them. And if you don't file and they find out, they come and they put you in silver handcuffs and they take you away.
Right.
If you don't pay them, then they start putting liens on your houses and start calling you and harassing you, trying to get you to negotiate. And for whatever reason, I don't think I was a big enough fish for them to actually come after.
Oh,
but
wow.
Yeah, I wound up paying about $14,000 in taxes for the last 3 years, and I still need to file for last year, but that's a different animal at this point.
Was that just like a conscious choice?
No, I just for the first year for the first year I don't know why I didn't pay it. I mean, I got the slip, I had the money, I just didn't pay it. The second year it was like $7,000, and I just never had the money. I never had $7,000 at one time that I didn't need for something else.
So to be clear, was this like money left over after you made your quarterly payments, or?
I have never made quarterly payments.
Oh man.
Well, I'm
not taking tax advice from you. Note to self.
Yeah, well, they do charge you a penalty for not paying quarterly payments, but
it's small usually.
Yeah, it's pretty small, and it was just a hassle. It's like, oh, another thing for me to keep track of? No, thank you. I'll just pay you at the end of the year. Yeah.
Yeah. What I do is I catch up on the last quarter.
Mm-hmm.
So. And then I just take my paycheck and pay it all. So I don't end up paying the penalty, and I don't have to pay quarterly. I just file the 941 every quarter with 0 on it, and then on the last quarter I file. But
yeah, my accountant's just doing it automatically for me now. So
I'm assuming you didn't have an accountant 2 or 3 years ago.
I did, and he assumed I had paid my taxes.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Wow. Yeah, I'm just saying. You know, it's not a smart thing to do, but that's what I did. So.
Well, the penalties and the fees must have just, unless did you get a tax lawyer to negotiate?
I'm trying to understand how you had to pay so little. That doesn't seem like a lot of money to me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe deductions and stuff.
I called them up. I said, look, I'm going to pay them all on the 1st of February. And the lady said, okay, here are the amounts. Here's the total amount, and then here are each of the amounts for each year.
But they charge you like a penalty, and then they charge you 8% interest. Like, there's like one of the things I read was like compounded daily. They had some kind of compounded daily.
Oh my gosh!
Charge.
Well, that's like one of those scenarios where it becomes like it turns into like $1 billion after 31 days.
Yeah. I think they do compound it daily, but I I think if you compound it across a year, it's like 8%.
Yeah,
But
but compounded daily 8% is a lot more than compounded
yeah,
monthly 8%.
Yeah.
yeah. But anyway, so they're getting their pound of flesh. I think they had also taken money out of my bank account a couple of times. The funny thing is that they can attach to personal accounts because it's personal taxes, but they can't attach to your business accounts. So
Okay.
they'd wipe me out, and then I just put more money in there.
Oh my goodness, Chuck, no offense, but you've come from.
I just lucked out, really. I mean, honestly.
Oh my goodness, like you,
Wow.
like I don't even know how. I don't want to offend you, but I feel like this is like trailer park to entrepreneur story hour.
Yeah. Anyway, so this year I fully intend to
But you're honest. This is the honest, like, yeah. So kudos to you for being honest
Yeah.
about this.
But at this point, the
I mean, you learned your
941.
lessons. Like, yeah, you're.
Oh
yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, and I was just worried that they were gonna hold things up, or that the number had gotten high enough to where they were actually gonna start causing me problems. And I had the
Yeah.
money. I had the money to take care of it. So I'm like, okay,
Oh,
because
yeah.
I'm trying to get completely out of debt.
Mhm.
And it's like, look, if the world implodes tomorrow and I don't have any money, I can bankrupt on everybody except them.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
And so, I wanted to take care of it, and so I could. And I'm doing the same thing with the state of Utah. They're a whole lot more. They're a whole lot easier to deal with. I just call them up. I want to pay. Okay. But yeah. So now what happens is my accountant files the 941 for me.
Yeah.
I think it's a 941 because I'm filing as an
Yeah.
S corp now.
Yep.
And then it just automatically comes out of my my business account for my payroll taxes.
Perfect. Cool.
And then whatever's left over at the end of the year, I'll just pay it when I pay it. But yeah, so that should be a whole lot less hassle from now on. And since it's automatically coming out, I don't have to worry about it. And yeah. it was partially negligence and partially just I was so worried about other stuff that I didn't even think about it most of the time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I've got mine set up so that every time I get I pull a paycheck, quote unquote paycheck out of my business checking account, I just put some of that money into the taxes account.
yeah, and that's what I'm going to do now. I figured that so the 1 year that was the highest was $7,000, and so I'm just going to put $1,000 into the savings account for the business every month,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll just pay myself a lump sum when it comes up at the end the next year,
Right.
and then just pay it out, and that way I don't have to worry about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, because then I can just write a check, stick it in the envelope with the coupon that my accountant prints off, and then I'm done.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, so that was crazy. I guess I should come clean about something else too. While we're doing
All
this.
right. This will be like This is like the Christmas Eve. You should have done this on like Christmas Eve or something, because like when the White House has all this dirty laundry that they want to get out, they just dump it, on a Friday afternoon.
That's right.
I feel like you're going to tell me you served some time because that's the only thing that's like connected to the
No.
dots.
But well, that's also why they've been doing the Democrat debates like Sunday night at 9 p.m. or something. It's
Yeah.
'cause they don't want anyone to actually watch them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the other thing I guess I'll come clean about here is that last fall my house was in foreclosure, and
Oh man, that was the money that you needed, right?
that was the money I needed in
Yeah.
I
August.
see.
It was basically to bail my house out, and so the other mastermind group that I'm in, they actually nailed me down and said, you need a plan, you need to do this, you need to do this.
Yeah.
And so I just made the plan and followed through, and that conference made $24,000, and so it completely bailed me out.
Nice.
So
Awesome.
yeah, I didn't know because my wife was embarrassed because after we had our fourth kid, she went through a period of pretty severe depression, and she was the one that was dealing with the finances to begin with, and so she was kind of embarrassed because it kind of got us into that position, and then my contracting wasn't working out because I was spending so much time doing the conferences and the podcasts that I couldn't hold down a contract at least in a way that I felt good about, and so I wound up giving people their money back and just not contracting. And so things got a little bit tight and got worse. And anyway, so I wasn't sure that I wanted to bring that up then, but at this point, since everything's kind of handled and she's not as emotionally tied to that anymore, I'm not opposed to bringing it up. But yeah, so I paid $15,000 to get the house out of foreclosure, and we sold the other house that we owned, and yeah, so that was my last fall. But things since then, the other thing that happened was that all of my yearly sponsorships ended in August.
Oh yeah, yep.
And so I got, I think let's see, it was October. I wound up invoicing about $45,000, $50,000 for podcast sponsorships for the quarter. And I did it again at the beginning of this year. And so from all of this, I've been able to. Oh, I should turn that off. I should be able to completely get us out of debt this quarter or next quarter.
That's great.
Nice.
But yeah, so everything kind of lined up about right at the end of September to get us out of trouble.
So this is pretty interesting because, like, I've heard this from other entrepreneurs too. Like, just because you can make it once and then have to start all over again. Like, things can spin out of control pretty quickly. And then, but you had the tools. Like, the nice thing is you had the tools to turn things around. Really fast. Like that, I told that Ryan Dice story where he had like a really good year, and then he realized he owed the IRS like $150,000.
Yeah.
And he had no idea.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then he made a product that made him.
Yeah, he did it like one sale.
Yeah.
And made all of it in one fell swoop.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm trying to get to the point where I can do that when I need to, but
yeah.
I'm also kind of trying to get to the point where I won't ever need to just off of podcast sponsorships and conferences and stuff.
Yeah.
Just have money in the bank, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I really had. It's funny because people are like, "Well, how do you make money podcasting? How do you make a living at it?" And my answer is, well, you start 5 years ago.
Right.
So I mean, it's not like everything just kind of clicked into place. I mean, it sort of did, but I had built up to that, to the point where everything just kind of fell in where it needed to at the time. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I was able to pay cash for the car and stuff like that too because of the income that we got. So.
Yeah, sounds like you need to get a runway, like at least like a few months runway, so that you have a good buffer, so that you can, don't get, because when you get it's a squeeze situation, right? I mean, just like the passport, that's a perfect squeeze situation. It's like it ends up costing you a lot more money when you get in the squeeze, or when you're back on the taxes, then instead of just paying the taxes, now you're paying interest and penalty and all that, and same thing, house. Instead of just paying the mortgage, now you're paying to get penalties and foreclosure and lawyer fees and all this stuff. So so if you have that runway, then you won't have, like, your money will go further. Like, you'll have, like, So but it sounds like you're in the position to do it now.
Well, what I've been doing lately since mid-November is when I pay myself, I immediately pay tithing on it because I'm LDS Christian, however you want to reckon that. So I pay tithing, I give 10% to the church. And then I take another 10% and I put it into savings. And just due to that, since November, we've socked away almost $3,000. Just, on the 10% of whatever I'm paying myself. And so, like, when I paid for the car, I think we paid $6,400 for it. So I pulled out $8,000 and paid tithing and put 10% away and then bought the car.
Yeah.
And by doing that, we have a whole lot more of a buffer there. So if things really do get bad, we can at least sneak by for a little while. And once we get debt paid off, then I'm planning on dropping a whole lot more of our income in there to get that up. But right now, I'm really much more interested in getting rid of this debt and just removing some of this weight off our backs. And the IRS, honestly, was the heaviest. It was the I think it was the highest amount, but it was also just the one that really kind of bothered me as far as what are they going to pull to try and get their money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't mess with the IRS.
Well, cool.
But
Thanks
yeah,
for thanks for coming clean on that. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
that's been my life for the last
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah, that's got to be pretty rough.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of tough to go through, but yeah, I mean, there I'm more and more convinced that there's a way. Like if you've been
Yeah.
working at it and you're willing to work at it, then there's a way.
Hmm.
You just got to figure out what it is.
Yeah. Plus, that's the one thing too, is it's better to get into these kind of situations now
Hmm.
rather than when you're making millions.
Right.
Because if you didn't go through this now, I mean, like at some point you have to gain the financial education to be able to realize that the mistakes that you make, right? I mean, we
Yeah.
all we all have done like stupid shit that eventually like we learn, but it's like sometimes we're like, oh man, like I wish I wouldn't have done that, but then it's like, well, you never would have learned it if you didn't do it.
Hmm.
So it's much better to make the mistakes and like owe the IRS, $20,000 than it is to owe them $200,000 or $2
Right.
million, like because if you can make $10 million a year and make mistakes and be short, and then now you're in real friggin' trouble that you can't just get out of, with the sale or something like that. Whereas
Mhm.
so yeah, so it's always good to learn the take the falls when you're lower on the totem pole. So
Yeah. Well, and I think I should print off another diploma because I think I've qualified for a master's in stupid shit. I do have a question for you, John. Since I'm going to be out in Amsterdam on the 16th, 17th, and 18th,
yeah,
I don't know if you actually went there. I don't remember what cities you stopped in, but
yeah, I was there for 3 weeks. Yeah.
okay. So, I'm wondering what I should go see, and you can probably just send an email about that. But I also want to do a meetup, and that's what I'm really curious about. Like, what did you do for that?
Oh, I just sent an email to my list, and I just said like I'm trying to think. I just picked a place. I sent an email originally and just asked people for a place to like that they would to recommend locally because I
Hmm.
figured local. And then I talked to a few people and set up a time and date and sent another email. But what I realized, let's see, the last one that I did that worked out well, I think in London or in Iceland, is that I figured out something which was, what was it?
You could.
Uh,
It was like a. Wasn't it like you could have them click on the link to
oh yeah, yeah.
yeah
Click on
to
a
segment
link and
themselves.
yeah, and send a drip email with a link that they could click to opt in, and then they would get tagged.
Oh,
And
right.
so
Mhm.
that
So then you're
tags
only
them
bugging the people who want to come.
exactly, and I'm not having to keep track of because before I was like keeping track of everyone who replied and then making a spreadsheet of everyone people who replied. Just the other way worked better. So I just like send one email asking people if they were interested in a meetup, and I didn't have the details yet, and then click this link, and just those people clicked it, and then now I had this subset of people to email, and I could and they're opening the email and I could get people to respond and suggest a place, but.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
And then did you just make a reservation or something, or
I
you
don't
just
think. Well,
show up and?
I was waiting to see what the group size was. So, like in Amsterdam, I didn't have a very big group size. I think I had like 3 people or something. In the UK, in London, I had like 30 or 40 people. So I found like a beer garden or something that had like a big like outdoor space and called them up
Uh-huh.
ahead of time and and, so, and made a reservation. But
Okay. So yeah, so if I get just a handful of people, then maybe I'll just say we're all gonna be here, and I'll get a table with 6 chairs.
yeah, yeah, something like that. Yeah. I mean, you could call ahead. Like you can. I would ask your audience, like people that are local in
Hmm.
Amsterdam, to recommend places too. This way,
Yeah.
you get to go to some cool places too. So
Yeah, sounds good. I think I'll just send that email out probably today or Monday.
cool. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of places to visit in Amsterdam. Not as there's some interesting places. You have to at least like see the red light district at night. Just walk around there just to see how friggin' packed it is. Just crazy packed. Just like I mean, if you've never seen like it is like streets that are just like shoulder to shoulder packed.
Uh-huh.
That's how crazy it is. And then I mean, there's some like good day trips and stuff. There's like a I mean, how long are you going to be there?
Just 3 days, and one of the days is the conference. So
Oh, okay. So then probably just checking out the red light district and uh, I'm trying to think of what else. I mean, you
I
just
won't
walking
tell my
around the
wife you
city.
told me to go to the red light district.
And just walking around probably then seeing all the bridges and canals. You could maybe do a canal tour or something like that. But it's a pretty cool city.
Yep.
You could rent a bike and ride around. That's pretty fun. So
Nice. Okay, one more thing that I want to bring up with you guys, just to throw it out there. I got a call from a guy that helps coach people on building like elite group or one-on-one training kinds of things, and I'm kind of toying with the idea of doing like a once a month or twice a month call where people can get on and ask questions, and I do some kind of specialized training for them and things. I'm trying to decide if I have the time for it, and I'm trying to decide if it's really a great idea or not. It kind of feels like a good idea at this point, but I don't know if I can pull the trigger on it quite yet anyway.
What I would do if I were you looking at this, I would go for go for the higher end. I don't know what you're thinking in terms of pricing, but I would be looking to do something where you're charging $1,000 a month or $500 a month or something, and not like try to get a couple hundred people paying you $29 a month.
Right.
What were you like? What were you thinking this might look like?
So I was thinking that I might do something that's once or maybe twice a month for 2 hours if it's once a month, or 1 hour if it's twice a month. And I would just put together some training on a particular topic and then leave it open for questions about anything at the end. And then I was thinking about charging $100.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do that, that sounds reasonable.
He wants to put together something that is like $10,000 a person for a year's worth of something or other.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other way to do it. And that's kind of the direction I'm going with my coaching. The downside, you're going to spend more time. I spend, like, right now I'm probably I spend like an hour or two preparing for each coaching session. And then the coaching session, like yesterday my coaching session went long, and we were like almost 2 hours. Like, it was like an hour and a half, and it was really good. It ended up going really well. But yeah, so it's probably, I mean, at least 6 to 8 hours a month probably per student. So, and if you're going to charge $10,000 a month, I would expect that you're going to put in at least that much. What are you going to be helping people with? Is it, because I think at that price level you're going to be helping them set up a freelance business, right?
Yeah, it'd be something like that, helping them set up a freelance business, or I thought about maybe helping them set up a podcast and like just helping them work through all of it. So it's kind of a, because if you're paying that amount, then you have to get the value out of it.
I think it'll be, yeah, I mean, like, so it'll be easier to, it's probably going to be easier to sell a few people on paying you $10,000 for a year than it will be to get hundreds of people paying you to do the smaller thing.
Yeah.
So, and then that's going to have there's going to be a decent little admin tail that comes along with having 300 customers.
Right. But that's the thing is, if I have 300 customers that are paying $100 each, that's $30,000 a month. And I'd like to be able to bring in guests and stuff if I do 2 trainings a month, one of them would be, a friend of mine on, agile development or managing developers or something like that, and I could actually pay them to be there.
I mean, the real answer here is to do both.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, where do you start?
Right.
And to me, the higher end thing makes more sense, just because you need a lot more systems in place to make the other thing work. I mean, Perry Marshall he's got a roundtable thing. He calls it roundtable. It's like $26,000 a year, and that's for like 20 people. And then he's got Mastermind Club. It's $100 a month, and that has like basically what you have, like what you're describing. It's a monthly newsletter, and then 2 like live events a month.
Uh-huh.
And it's tough to sell. It's hard work to sell that type of monthly thing. It's worth doing, but it's hard work. So I would probably start with the higher end thing. It's going to be because it'll also give you more experience coaching people, and so you'll be able to you'll know exactly, when you do have those 300 customers, you'll know exactly what to tell them, what all their problems are.
Yeah.
And it'll be more valuable for them. So
yeah, that makes sense.
that's my take. John, what do you think?
I wouldn't do this at all right now. I mean, like I agree with everything that Josh is saying about the execution of it, but especially based on what you just told us today, I would stay the course as much as possible. You don't need more variability and risk. Like
That's true.
You need to you need to focus on what's making you the money now and devote your time there, especially with these online conferences. This sounds like a good next year thing, but I think this year is the year of at least in my mind, of you getting these online conferences going and making money, because this has like a really good shot, and then also getting all your debt paid off, and then you could take risks, because this would be a risk like of time and possibly, and you're gonna have to invest in it, no doubt. Whereas what you're doing now, like you've got sponsorships, podcasts are going, you've got the synergy between the podcasts and the online conferences, and I feel like if you devote all your time as much as possible to those 2 things, even though they might like seem boring, like you got to be doing more stuff, like I feel like if you just focus on that for this year, you're going to have the success, like the platform that you need in order to be able to get all your stuff paid off, get your runway, and then be ready to invest into new. Because I can feel like you're chomping at the bit to do loose, but I think this is the point where you got to stay the course. Because if you stay the course here, you're going to set yourself up for have a solid foundation for success for the future. But you could screw up here and then get into a trouble situation if so I don't know, that's my advice.
No, I agree. I actually agree with that. That's
and that's what I told this guy too. His name's Frank. I told Frank, I was like, look, I've got to get systems around what I'm doing now, because he was saying, you pretty much have to focus on this full time in order to make it work, and I'm like, it's not going to happen before like July at the earliest.
Right. Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is at the time, like anything you can do now that consolidates your platform, like John was saying, especially around your email list, right? Because you're still kind of getting that. You've got this huge traffic engine with all your podcasts and everything, and when you can kind of funnel all that into the central place, and you've got, you could very easily have 30, 40, 50,000 people, and then like selling 5 people to pay you $10,000 is going to be easy.
Yeah.
But right now it'll be more challenging. So.
Yeah. Well, and I don't have time to really figure it all out, and I know that there's some figuring out that will have to happen. So.
Yeah. No, I think that. Yeah, I agree with what John's saying.
And just know also that like your energy level, you're like prepare to crash and burn at some point. So.
Yeah.
Because it will happen. It's happened in the past. We all go through it. So, like, the more balls you have in the air, the more trouble you're going to be if you crash.
Yeah.
So, you got to focus, get the one thing, focus on that thing, and then as you're automating this stuff, then you'll have less. You'll be able to offload. You get this automated. You'll be able to take that breather and relax for a minute, and then get back to it. So.
Yeah, and I'm kind of hoping end of February, beginning of March, that I can actually talk my wife into letting me just take off for a couple of days and get a little bit of a retreat.
Yeah.
Get my head in the right space and then move ahead from there. So, anyway, we've talked about me for an hour. We covered everything I was going to ask anyway. But what do you guys have going on?
My big news is I put an offer on a house here in San Diego.
How did it go? Did they still negotiating, or?
Yeah, we're negotiating. They countered back with kind of what we thought. Like the big thing we're negotiating now is the terms of we'd like a 90-day escrow, which is pretty large, but because we want to go back to Tampa, get our house sold, pack up stuff, and we've got we've got to do the Tony Robbins thing in March, and so we're not ready to just be here immediately, but yeah, we're pretty much. It's a big. I mean, this is almost $1 million house. this is like a huge commitment. But I've been playing it so safe. Like that's my problem is playing it too safe. So it's like, well, how long are you gonna like? I've always been like sacrifice, like sleeping on mattresses, like saving every penny, like
Hmm.
you know what I
Right.
mean, like
Yeah.
ultra conservative. And it's like, well, and I was afraid of the tax bill of California. Like I don't want to pay California state tax, but like as we're here, I'm like, well, like I've kind of, what's the point of building, up this empire and making this money if you don't actually like spend it on the things that are really going to bring enjoyment, which is like, you know, having my daughter grow up in a place that'll be pretty awesome, and having nice weather all year around, and
Hmm.
just like all the like, it's really hard to beat San Diego as far as like, it's probably one of the best places to live in the U.S. because you just have so much stuff and you have perfect weather, and everything is here. So yeah, so and then you can live in different areas, and like the property that we put the offer on is about like 6 blocks from the beach,
Oh,
so
nice.
you can walk down to
Wow.
Pacific Beach. It's right there next to La Jolla, and then there's like you can walk, like everything is walkable. You can walk to the Vaughn's grocery store, like just like 5 6 minute walk, Trader Joe's, and like everything there. And then there's like a bay where there's parks and stuff. So I think, yeah, it's a tough decision to like to actually do it, and it's a townhouse there, so it's not even like a big house. Like real
Hmm.
estate is extremely expensive in San Diego, especially
Yeah.
anywhere near the coast. But I don't know. But when I looked at it, I was like, I can afford this because I can put the 20% down, and I can make the payments. It's not going to even really be that much of a stretch, like because of other the real estate income from my other real estate will pay for this. So to do it, and it'll also push me to give me a good reason to do better with business,
Right.
because before I was like, well, what's the point? Like I can do, and I realized that I don't want to just do whatever I want to do. Like I don't want to just play video games all day. I do want to like keep going, and not for the
Mhm.
purpose of just making money, but for the purpose of of making an impact, and sharing what I have. Like it's a drive of it. It's a different motive than what I had before. So yeah, so that's the big. I'm excited and nervous about it at the same time. I've never made a purchase anywhere like of this size.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Is that even bigger than your real estate investments?
I've never made a real estate investment of this. The largest real estate investment I made at one time was I bought two fourplexes in Kansas City for about, whether they were like 230. So it was like I think 460 or 470 was the total purchase price.
Okay.
So, and this is going to be around like pretty close to 800,000, like
Yeah.
Wow.
750, 800,000, right?
Nice.
So,
So I have an
yeah.
announcement about this. If you want to pay $1,200, we're going to have a retreat at John's house this summer.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, even with that price, it's not anywhere near a mansion. It's like 1,700 square feet.
Yeah.
So it's not even very big, and it's a townhouse. So
You
it's
have a
like,
couch.
yeah.
Chair.
But yeah, I think it was tough. I've been talking to my wife and about it, and just it's time to start taking a little bit more risks, and to not live life so by the
Hmm.
cuff, and do what I'm capable of doing. So yeah, so that's the plan. Hopefully it's not, again, I don't think it's a dumb, in the situation where I'm at financially, I don't think it's a dumb decision. I don't think it's a big risk at all, really.
Yeah.
But it's, so, and we want to get, I have to pay California taxes now, which will suck, but there's a lot of benefits to being here.
Just
So,
incorporate in Nevada.
well, you still have to pay California
Income
Yeah.
tax.
tax.
It's
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
be the money you'd have to pay would be like money you take out of the business, right?
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like your salary basically.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah, because I mean, but you end up pulling owner draws from the business. I'll have to like figure out the whole details, but I mean, essentially, any money that you get that you can
Yeah.
use, you will pay taxes
Right.
on,
Yeah.
because any money that you kept in the business, you're either spending, right, for the business, in which case it's a straight deduction, right? It's not,
Hmm.
Yep.
it's an expense, or you're paying it to you, in which case you're going to be taxed on it. So
Right.
there's no,
Yep.
there's no like tricks
No.
around that, unless it's all out of the country or something like that. But you don't get to that stage until you're making like $10 million a year. Then you start thinking about those things. But yeah,
Cool.
that's the big thing, and we'll see. It'll be interesting. It'll be big change, but I think it'll be worth it. I never felt like Tampa, like we could really put down roots and call it home, but I feel like San Diego we can. So
Hmm. Well, maybe we can walk by it when we're there.
oh yeah, I'll take you over there. Yeah, make
Yeah,
a trip. We
like
have
I'd
to
like to see it.
take a trip down there, but it's not very far. So yeah, it's really been cool. Like just checking out San. There's just like tons of stuff. There's so much stuff in San Diego. I mean, you've got the ocean. You've got if you want to ski, there's mountains. There's like theme parks. There's just like everything pretty much here. So cool. And I'll be driving distance to Vegas, so I'm probably going to change my. Well, it depends on how fast we move. I might have to. I just booked the flight for MicroConf, and I'll have to change it to drive. So
Nice.
Yeah, you're going to be driving less than I will be.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because what are you about 6 hours?
Um, it depends on how fast I drive. I've done it in 4. If you go the speed limit, it's about 5.5, 6 hours.
If you drive
Okay,
like the IRS is chasing you, it's
that's funny.
cool.
But yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, it was kind of interesting too because I wasn't planning on doing this. Like we were planning on staying here for 2 months to figure out if we wanted to live here and then look at some houses and just get an idea of the real estate. But we went out one day and after we went out, both me and my wife were like, okay, let's talk about this. And we were, I was like, well, this is a crazy plan, but this is what I was thinking. It's like because we were looking at all these houses that were like $1 million plus, like that's kind of where the range was, and this one was significantly less. So we're like, well, this we like this. So I was like, my crazy plan would be to actually just put an offer on it now. And she's like, that's exactly what I was thinking. And I was like, okay, well,
There you go.
you got to follow your gut. So
Nice.
let me see. Other big news, other thing. Oh, cool thing for me this week. It was YouTube hit over 15,000 subscribers, which is cool. And then it also passed. Uh, it's technically right at or slightly above views for a simple programmer website. So there's more people, or at least the same number of people viewing YouTube videos every month as there are viewing pages on Simple Programmer.
Nice. Well, those are views, right? So there's at least as many people watching videos as viewing pages.
Exactly.
It's not the
Yeah.
same number. It's probably not the. I'm imagining that there are more people watching multiple videos than viewing multiple pages, but it's tough to.
Yeah, it's tough to say because some
Yeah.
people binge watch
Right.
videos. They can watch every single video, and I'm
Right.
producing like multiple videos per. So I don't know about in terms of people, but it's
Yeah.
like it's a landmark spot
Yeah.
because
That's
it
awesome.
shows that eventually I think that a lot of the business will be driven from YouTube instead of from the web.
I'm
So
seeing. Yeah. I'm seeing people showing. I'm seeing traffic showing up now from YouTube
yeah,
in Google
so
Analytics. So I've been keeping an eye on that.
yeah, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for me. I've been gone last 2 days. We went to Legoland in Disneyland, California. Took my daughter there. And that was pretty fun. So
Nice.
Yeah, I've been wanting to. Disneyland's fun, but my 10-year-old is nuts about Lego, so I think that would be fun too.
yeah, yeah, the Legoland is pretty cool. It's like from I think ages 4 to 12. It's really like, and there's just like a ton of stuff to do there. We went to Legoland, Disneyland, California, and we rode this. They have this big Ferris wheel, and they have this. You have an option of riding in this car that is it's moving on the Ferris wheel, so it slides. I don't know if you've ever seen this before. So think of it as like you've got a Ferris wheel, and normally you have like the cars in the Ferris wheel that are just like
Yeah.
stationary, right? So imagine if you had like a few of the cars that were on like a track that like the gravity could cause it to like as it to swing back and forth or to sway. So we did that. Like my daughter wanted to go on the Ferris wheel because she like, but my wife doesn't really like heights, and so I was like, oh, let's do the swinging gondola. Oh my goodness, it was pretty funny. Because that thing, like, it was pretty freaky. Like, you get up there and you're up pretty high, and then all of a sudden, it's like gravity takes effect, and there's this point where the cart just goes and it swings, and you're swinging in the Ferris wheel.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts.
Cool.
But yeah, if you do the Legoland thing, I'd also say like if you definitely do the Legoland Hotel. It's pretty awesome. We did like this pirate theme room. It's a little expensive. I think it's like 100 and something, $150 a night. But it like sleeps 3 kids. I think like there's a bunk bed in there, and then they have like all kinds of activities, and it's
Oh
pretty
my
cool.
gosh. My
Yeah,
boys would love that.
Yeah.
yeah,
What
yeah.
what types of activities are like what's the park like? Or
So it's like, well, the hotel itself, like they had like a pirate theme room and like bunk beds and all. I mean, it's just like decked out with all this stuff. And then
Hmm.
they had like entertainment. Like they had this like smart like this commune area like in the hotel lobby where it's just a bunch of Legos and kids playing there and stuff. So you could go down there. And then at night they had like some like activities for the kids, like actual orchestrated activities. And then you get into the park like half an hour early if you're staying at the hotel. And then I mean, they just have like a ton of rides. They have all kinds of like rides that are designed for kids, a couple of real small coasters, and then they have like a lot of like just big play areas where they have a bunch of kids and they have water play areas and shooting balls and all kinds of stuff. And it's all like, Lego themed and different things. And then they have what else do they have? They have like places where you can build with Legos and stuff, different stations and stuff, and so it's pretty well designed. It's like it's definitely a pretty neat park. Like kids will definitely like it. So
Yeah, I can just see my 10-year-old losing his head.
yeah. Uh, so yeah, I'm trying to. I think that's pretty much it for me. I got to catch up on a bunch of stuff. Uh, yeah, I think I've been looking at our numbers, Josh, for Simple Programmer for sales, and we're doing pretty good. Like, I think for the month we're going to probably end up at like 7,000 for digital product sales,
okay, cool.
and for like Bluehost referrals it'll be like 1,700, and then yeah. So those are the main.
Cool. That should jump back up now that we've got the now that we ended the experiment with the higher price on 10 steps.
Yeah,
Did you
That,
actually raise the price?
no, we ended up I don't know what was going on, but like the tracking that I had set up in Optimizely was vastly over-reporting sales of the 147 product. I have no
yeah,
idea how or why. It was weird. So it ended up being, I don't know, John, what it ended up being, but it looked like it was profit-wise, like the $97 price was going to make a lot more sense. And then I paused the experiment in Optimizely, and then John emails me. He's like, "Hey, we're getting sales again for the 147. Well, like, what's up?" And so I went back in, and they had unpaused it somehow,
Oh
which was
wow.
really weird. I mean, I'm pretty sure I definitely did it on. I mean, I definitely attempted to pause it. So maybe I messed something up, or maybe they had some kind of glitch on their end and it came back on. But yeah, so it was definitely we're definitely making a lot more money, and it makes sense because you're cracking that 3-figure mark once you go above like $99. So
yeah.
it makes
So at
sense
least
that
we
it.
know. It's not a huge difference, but it's enough where the 97 price
Yeah.
makes more sense. But yeah, so I think we're looking pretty good on that. I hired the QuickBooks guy also He
Yeah.
seems to be. So, as soon as I hired him, magically I got this message that said you've been approved for payments
Oh
for.
wow. For
Yeah,
QuickBooks?
yeah. So
Oh
apparently,
man,
if you have an accountant on your,
did you have him do anything about that or
not that I know
no?
of.
Okay, it's just like the magical like you have the server admin guy look at your thing and your site starts working again.
Yeah, I'm guessing that maybe they're like, if you have an actual accountant doing your books, then you must be
Huh.
legitimate. So
Maybe that might have had something to do with me too, because I had a bookkeeper when I applied.
yeah,
So I had somebody added to my account as a bookkeeper, so that might. Oh, yay. That's nice.
so yeah, so that'll be good. At least we can invoice from there.
Yep.
So he seems to be really good. He's got a bunch of questions for me that I haven't answered yet. I need to
Mhm.
get caught up on
Okay.
email, but I think he'll work out. He seems to know what he's doing and
Good.
stuff.
So,
So
so are you using QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks
Yeah.
QuickBooks?
QBO online.
Because I used QuickBooks Online when I first started my business, and I couldn't figure out what was going on in there.
Yeah. I went through and looked at Zero, QuickBooks, and a couple like three or four other ones,
Uh-huh.
and I found them all to be pretty impenetrable. But QuickBooks was the least. QuickBooks seemed like the most approachable to me. So that's what I ended up going with. And John did a similar thing where he went through and looked at Zero and about a year or two ago, and he ended up picking QuickBooks too. And then they've they're frustrating to work with if you have any
yeah,
problems. But
Yeah.
um, but yeah, as far as the user interface, to me, QuickBooks is the most intuitive. All the other ones, part of the problem with all the other ones was they had this setup wizard that was like you had to like walk through a lot of setup before you could even get in and look at the UI. And if you
Yeah.
didn't know what you were doing, like I had no idea what I was doing, and it just was like I felt like I would have had to be an accountant almost to just to get through the setup wizards. It was really bad.
yeah.
Yeah. So which um I'm just wondering, do they have like plans that you buy or
I'm paying like close to $40 a month, but that includes um, QuickBooks, like the regular QuickBooks stuff, and then also the QuickBooks payments. And I want to say I paid
QuickBooks
for.
payments is getting
It's like
paid or
it lets you do invoices, so I can send an invoice out, and then like I have a rule set up to automatically send John an invoice for my retainer every month, and then he can pay me online via ACH, so I only pay 50 cents for the transaction instead of 3% on the credit card,
oh,
the credit card fee. So
you
that
have
for
to
me,
have a merchant account for that or
you have to have like a QBO payments account.
okay.
So, and I think I think it's basically a merchant account. It's like I think you're using their merchant account.
Right.
So, but you can also set it up with like authorize.net, and I think in some others, but I think could
I
be
quit
wrong.
my authorize.net, so
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're just as much a pain to work with as anybody else. So
Yeah.
it is really nice to be able to have the debit, like the bank debit payments. That'll save me like thousands of dollars this year.
But yeah, so I think that we should have that set up pretty soon, like going pretty soon. I just have to get that last part figured out, and then we'll have bookkeeping going. And so yeah,
Sweet.
that'll
Yeah,
be
I want to see how he does, because I still have not gotten my situation completely squared away. I'm all done. I went through, so I uncategorized all of my transactions. Like I basically went back to like 2013 and like unprocessed all my transactions and then went through and manually looked them all up in Gmail because I have receipts for pretty much everything in Gmail. So I was able to recategorize everything, but the balances are still all out of whack. So I have my bookkeeper's supposed to be looking at that, and I haven't heard anything from her for a while. So I might have to. I might jump over to this. This will be my fourth bookkeeper.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm asking for a lot. Like I'm a pretty easygoing guy to work with. Part of it's that I kind of just cut bait when I am not happy with somebody. I don't like spend a lot of time trying to work through it with them. I'm just kind of like, this isn't working for me, so I just deleted your access to my account, and I wish you well.
Yeah, I mean, my thing, because I've had bookkeepers before, and I've had good ones, and I've had ones that totally jack things up, and I couldn't figure out what was what. But the other thing is that I'm sorry, I'm asking more questions about my own stuff, but um, the other thing that I'm wondering about is, so they have all these like arcane categories that they give you by default in most of these
Yeah.
systems,
Yep.
and I'm never quite sure where to put things.
Right.
And then if I
Yeah.
wind up putting them in the right category, then the reports and everything else are completely unintelligible.
So what I did was I actually went in and ripped all that out
Uh-huh.
and basically put in what would be useful for me. So this
Okay.
was one of the things I wanted out of a bookkeeper was I want you like I was like with each bookkeeper I had this vain hope that they would be assertive in some way and tell me like, hey, this is a good way to organize your finances. And no, what they all did was they asked me, how do you want this to work? And so I had to
Right.
come up with all my own categories for everything. And at the time, it was really awful because I was just getting my business started and I had no idea what what it was gonna look like. I didn't know what information I would need to get out of the system, and I didn't know how it would be useful for me later to categorize them. So I took a rough cut at it about a year and a half ago and got the categories set up, kind of in a reasonable way, and then this January I went through and fine-tuned that to where now it's actually really useful. Like I've got basically two top level categories for like income and expenses, and then within income I have it broken down into categories that I care about, like affiliate income, and I've got subcategories for my major affiliates. So I can see how much I got from Amazon. I can see how much I got from King Sumo. Um, and then I've got coaching as a category for income, so it's like high. It's kind of high level. And then for expenses, the main thing I really wanted to be able to see was what are my month to month committed expenses versus like the one-time expenses. So because like if things go crazy and I'm not making any money for some reason, I want to know, okay, well I have $2,000 a month in business expenses that I'm committed to, versus like, oh yeah, I spent $3,000 to go to a conference, but if finances were tight, I just wouldn't do that. If that makes sense. So I finally figured out a way to do that in QuickBooks, and so having that is really really useful. But then I've got my other expenses broken down into like kind of top level, like advertising and general office expenses, and then subcategories within those for major things. Like email marketing is one. I'm spending.
Yeah.
I want to know how much I'm spending on that. I want to know how much I'm spending on pay-per-click advertising. I want to know how much I'm spending roughly on like domains and hosting and that sort of stuff. So I'm pretty happy now with how I have it set up, and my profit and loss statement is actually meaningful to me, and I can look back now at previous years and see where all my money went, and I can print that off and show it to my wife, and we can talk about where everything's going, and it's worth it. Like it was kind of a lot of work to get there, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
But for you, it might be worth, John. I don't know what you think, but it might be worth doing the accrual basis versus like. So for my business is so simple that I'm just doing the cash basis accounting, which is like the simplest way. Is when money comes into my bank account, I count it and categorize it.
Mm-hmm.
And the accrual approach is where basically once the money's coming in, then it sort of enters your system.
Yeah.
Before you actually take possession of it, so that way you can kind of know, oh yeah, I earned this money in this month, even though they paid it to me 2 weeks later. and so you get a better idea of your cash flow.
It also works the other way too. Like in Chuck's position, taking affiliate income, I mean advertising income up
Uh-huh.
in advance for like a quarter in
Yeah,
advance.
exactly.
The accrual-based system would have that income actually show up in your accounting books as the month that it actually is for. Even though you're taking the money in advance, you would actually be accounting for it on the actual months that that the advertising occurred, so that the services were rendered.
Yeah, yeah. My
Okay.
business is simple, so it makes more sense to keep it simple. But
Well, the other thing is like I've been using Harvest for a while, and I'm paying more for Harvest than you're paying for QuickBooks. And the only thing I use it for is sending invoices anymore because I'm not tracking time for anything.
right.
Yeah.
And so if I can get a bookkeeping software, which is something that I'll actually need and use along with the invoicing and everything else, then I may ditch the one for the other.
Yeah, I would definitely do it. And you don't have to even pay for QuickBooks payments to use the invoicing. If you don't want, you can just have them mail you a check or pay you on with Stripe or something.
Yeah.
I don't mind the checks because there's no transaction fee. It's like I honestly, with where we are now with our finances, I don't care whether I get the money now or 2 weeks from now. So to me, if the choice is a check or pay 3% in transaction fee, $300 or something, I'd rather just take the check. But
yeah, I guess the other thing that I'm wondering is, can I use this to track my personal expenses, or do I need a separate account for that?
I would not. Yeah, you can do it, but I wouldn't do it. I would just do a separate account, and I think you could get a separate account that's like personal for like $12 a month or something. It wouldn't be much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's ways to set it up so that your expenses get categorized into different buckets, but I wouldn't mess with it.
No, I was just wondering if you could keep a second set of books on here. But.
No.
All right. Well, I may give this a try. I may actually go get a Linda video or something that'll show me how to use it.
Yeah. I mean, it would be. My theory was I was wanting to get an accountant or a bookkeeper to help me get it set up right. And if I'd gotten the right bookkeeper initially, I think that would have been a huge win, but I didn't. We have a couple. We could recommend. I think the people that we interviewed, any of them would probably be a good fit for you, and it might be worth. What you could do would be to take a month with them and let them set it up, and see how it's working, and if you like it, and if you don't, then just cut the cord, and you can even just delete your account and start over.
Yeah.
If you want. So, but yeah, it probably would be worth. I don't know. Probably would be worth doing that for you. It's going to cost a few $100 to get it all set up, but if I were starting over, I'd probably do that with one of these people that we interviewed.
I'd also just take the time of doing it yourself first, struggling through it, and because that, at least, I mean, that weekend that I spent doing it made it so that I could hire a bookkeeper competently.
Yeah,
because I was able to create a video and show what I did, and then you couldn't bullshit me because if you weren't at least more knowledgeable than I was about bookkeeping. In my self-education of it, then you couldn't apply because you would know that I would be able to see through what you were doing. Whereas
the one thing I'd say on that though is, John, is I think you have more than average background in accounting, just because of all of your business stuff. And I don't know, Chuck, if you might be in the same boat, but for me, the whole workflow of transactions getting processed through, I still don't completely understand it. It's just.
Yeah, but
pretty I don't think I could have worked through it the way that you did and come to any kind of meaningful understanding of the system.
I guarantee if you spent a day.
I've spent a couple of I've set it up in YNAB. I'm just not happy with YNAB because I have to import everything myself, and then on top of it just kind of doesn't track things quite the way I want, and it doesn't split out income at all. And so,
YNAB is more of a personal.
Yeah, it works great personal.
Yeah.
But I used Less Accounting before that, and they're pretty good. But again, I mean, the whole interface for categorizing expenses was super clunky.
QuickBooks is pretty awesome, in my opinion. It's pretty
They
easy to use, and you can automate most of it with rules. Like you can write regular. Well, you can do like text matching and stuff to automatically categorize stuff. So it's pretty nice. But John, I actually did. I have spent not all at once, but I've spent probably at least 2 full days messing around in the system in the last month or so, and I still don't completely. I kind of get it, but I don't completely understand it. So
I would say if you spend 2 hours just researching accrual-based accounting, you'll get it, because it's not that complicated. Like just the concept, and then I mean, messing around in the system is another thing, but I think combining those two, like again, you're not going to be perfect. You're not going to be, but you're at least going to be able to call BS on someone who doesn't know what they're doing or doesn't know it better than you, right? Like you have the smart questions to ask.
Yeah, because a lot of bookkeepers are just like software jockeys that can know how to work the software, but they don't really know. I think that's mostly what I've ended up working with.
Yeah, because they're just they can categorize transactions. Okay, well, but that's not.
Yeah, but I can do that too.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the easy part.
Yeah, that's the easy part, and that's what a lot of bookkeepers are. So so you got to have that filter. I mean, I don't know. I'm starting to believe that there's 2 kinds of people that you hire. One of them is people that follow directions that you set specifically, and they do a thing, and maybe they have some skill at like a particular art or something, but you give them the exact directions and they follow those exact directions. And then there's the other people that you hire because they're professionals. They tell you what to do. You're hiring them for their expertise, and you trust their judgment, and they tell you how it's going to be instead of you directing them. And there's the problem you get is when you're in between those two, like if it doesn't fall directly into one of those two. And so like I think bookkeepers could be either way. If you're like really good at accounting and you know exactly what you want, then you could have someone that just like, okay, this is what I want you to do. I just want you to categorize these transactions, do these things. But I think both you and I, Josh, were looking for the second category. Someone who's saying, okay, this is how you need to be doing it. Like, I see what you're trying to do. I know more than you about this, and I can take care of this. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think I really do want to just get it kind of clicking along the way that I need it to be clicking along, and then I'll probably bring somebody in and say, okay, here's how I'm doing it. And then if they have input, great, but at least then I'm getting out of it what I need.
Yep.
And I used QuickBooks Online when I first opened my business, and I just signed up while we were talking, and it looks totally different now.
They're constantly. The one thing I do like about it is they're constantly developing it and adding new features and stuff. So.
Yep. So I'll get this all hooked up, and then hopefully I can figure all that stuff out. It'll also help me with switching my banking over because I can figure out what's recurring on those accounts and move them. You should have seen the look on the teller's face when I came in. I withdrew a whole crap ton of money, and then she looks at me and she's like, so why are you taking all this money out anyway? And I was like, because I'm switching banks. And her eyes got all big, and she quit asking me questions.
Nice. When I did that, we were with a local bank here, and they convinced me to keep one account open. So I was switching to Ally Bank, and they convinced me to keep one account open. They're like, well, you never know. Like, it's really nice to have a local account when you're dealing with these big online banks. And I was like, all right, well, okay. And so then, of course, what did they do? They started charging me a service fee on my account, and I didn't know it. Yeah. And then it went into a negative balance, and then they slapped me. I was like, oh, no, I'm not paying that. So, I was like, there's no way I'm paying that.
Yeah, I did my books, ran my profit and loss for last year, and they had charged me almost $1,700 in fees over at Zions Bank. I'm like, I'm gone. I am out.
Wow.
And then I had to go through all this hassle when we bought the car. I actually had to drive back to St. George, Utah, because they set a daily spend limit on on my checking account. I'm like, I'm the only person with the damn debit card. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. That was it. I was so done. I was
Yeah.
busy that week, and I made it a point to go switch banks anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually signed up now with Chase's. I'm still with Chase, but I signed up with their Chase private client program, and
Hmm.
now like they actually refund ATM fees from non-Chase banks and from third-party fees.
Oh, cool.
So that yeah, and they like raise the transaction like the withdrawal limit, daily withdrawal limit to like $3,000. They give you a bunch of like neat perks. I think they want you to sign up with their investor, like they want to manage your money essentially, which I haven't done, uh, but the perks for it, as long as they let me stay in the program without signing up for their thing, are pretty nice. And then like wire transfer fees are free, like there's no fees on all that stuff. So
Nice. The credit union had me at the point where I looked at them and I said, now, what's the daily spend limit going to be on this account? And they looked at me and they gave me a really weird look and said, we don't do that.
yeah,
Yay!
exactly. That's how it should be. Banks shouldn't be making money off of charging you fees and like
Yeah.
restricting your access to your money.
Yep. Invest my money. Go ahead. As long as I can get it back when I'm done. When I want it.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yep. So yeah, so Josh leaves when it's his turn to
That's
to
right.
report it. Yeah, I don't think I've got much else because I've been busy here in San Diego.
Yep. Well, and I keep asking all the questions that you guys bring into my head when you talk about what you have going on.
Yeah, yeah, I've been. Hopefully, we'll see what happens with this year with Josh working on Simple Programmer and getting the sales. Hopefully, we'll get that how to market yourself sales page up pretty soon. And then there's been a lot of people asking for the course on entrepreneurship, which is what I'm planning on really working on next. I think that will do really well.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I've been having fun doing YouTube videos. I've been releasing like a ridiculous amount now. There he is.
I'm back. Yeah, sorry, I had to step away.
Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to mention actually, and then I'll turn it over to Josh.
Yeah, go for it.
Uh, I've been actually following. Well, okay, so this is going to sound a little bit weird, but I was going to bring the weird stuff into. So there's this guy, David. I think it's Data. He wrote this book called The Way of the Superior Man. I don't know if
Okay.
you guys have heard of that book.
No.
I've been looking a lot into the whole like masculinity versus femininity type of thing because I think Tony Robbins had brought it up and I was like, oh, this is sort of interesting. Like I don't know much about this, and it's not really talked about much in society today, but it's been really helpful to me. So you guys might want to look into that. David
Is
Data.
it on Amazon or?
Yeah, The Way of the Superior Man is the main book I think that he wrote. He wrote a few different books, quite a few different books, but some of the concepts in there have really been like helping me a lot. So changing a lot of the ways that I think about
Hmm.
relationships and interacting with people, and so just something that you know I found useful. So I thought I'd share that.
Could you give us a little taste?
Um, so trying to think, like, just like understanding, from a like the differences. I don't, I don't want to sound like super cheesy, but like the differences between men and women, like,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and and
That's
some of the
sexist.
things, yeah, so, some
What
of the things that
differences?
you that you think might be broken or like wrong, but they're actually totally 100% like naturally occurring, like that. Just understanding more of like, for me, who you are, right, and
Mm-hmm.
then who your wife is, like at a real not a BS level, like with all the layers of political correctness in society, like is kind of blurs that line and that distinction. But
Mm-hmm.
there's like, I mean, there is truly like a real like masculine drive to like hunt and kill things, and you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean, move it up and right, and that's like, but there's an opposite side that we don't understand as much, that is just as extreme on the feminine side, and understanding like how those two interact, and like embracing the part, being able to shift, positions. Obviously, we all have both components to us, but being able
Right.
to really identify with your own core, and when you're strong in that, I feel like it changes your viewpoint on life. So I don't know. I mean, I've been sort of introduced to that with Tony Robbins thing, and it's helped me a lot. Like it just opening my eyes. I just feel like it's one of those awakening type of things where you're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay, all this stuff I've been struggling with like for a long time. Now
Yeah.
it all makes sense, and I'm actually right in the groove with it, and so I don't know. To me is it's really useful. It's a little bit bizarre to some degree, but it's weird. All the weirdest things that I've found in life that have been the things that have been the most helpful. So,
Cool.
That's awesome.
so yeah, but yeah, definitely check it out if you get a chance. Like, yeah, I wouldn't recommend it if I didn't really think it was worth recommending. But I think those concepts, you don't hear about them very often today,
Mm-hmm.
but they're worth understanding. So,
Cool.
all
I'm
right,
adding it to my reading list. My always growing, ever
exactly.
expanding reading list on Amazon. So yeah, but actually, for me, the biggest thing this week has been I have cracked into Entrepreneur.com.
All
I'm
right.
officially, yeah. So oh man, it was actually, it ended up being pretty interesting. So what I did was so I knew I knew I've been I've actually been interested in writing for Entrepreneur.com since I first talked to James Clear about how he built his audience. I talked to him like maybe a year and a half ago, and he like at the time nobody else was talking about that his republishing syndication strategy, and people are starting to catch on to it now. But yeah, so I've been interested and I've actually reached out on a number of occasions to people that have written for Entrepreneur.com to try to figure out, okay, like who's the editor over there, because they've got, if you go to their staff page, they've got a whole bunch of editors listed.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know, like, I didn't even know where to start. So so finally I realized, oh yeah, I have this person that I talked to. I was trying to get them as a client over the summer, and they really liked me, and they were thinking of hiring me to do some of their emails, but we kind of never came together. But they publish over at Entrepreneur.com every week, so I was like, okay. So I asked them, like, who's the guy to talk to over there, and they sent me his name and email address. So I emailed this guy, and of course I don't hear anything back because they get so many emails and people trying to send them pitches and stuff. So it's really hard to get their attention. So then I went to LinkedIn, and I tried to connect with him on LinkedIn, and still nothing. And meanwhile, like I've been like emailing a ton of people trying to figure out, like, well, for one thing, like, how much traffic can I expect? Like, if I do this, am I going to get a decent amount of traffic, or is it going to be like with SitePoint where I got 4 visitors from the article that I wrote? And like nobody would return my emails, and I just felt like I was like beating my head against a brick wall for a while, and then finally I was like, wait a second, and I was like, Googled Perry Marshall Entrepreneur.com. Boom, he's got a bunch of articles on there, of course, like all stuff from his 80/20 book, and one of them apparently did really well. It had like I've been watching, so the share counts, like the social media share counts on those articles. Typically, like a good article will get around 1,000 shares. Really good one, like James Clear's articles, tend to get around 10,000. Perry had a couple that had like 52,000 shares.
Oh wow.
So I was like, okay, they know him over there. So I emailed him. I was like, hey, could you introduce me? So he introduced me to their marketing director, and then she flagged. So she told me how to get what to send her, and then she sent me over to the same guy that I'd tried to get in touch with before.
Yeah.
But now it was coming, with a good recommendation from her, and then so he looked at what I sent over, and he was like, yeah, like send me. So he said, send me your bio and a photo, and the way it works is they set you up with an account, and you can basically just log in to your account and submit articles. Like you don't have to go through any kind of query process or get approval or anything. They just want you to write articles, and then when you're done with them, you submit it, and then they'll have an editor look at it, and they can reject it, but as long as it's reasonable, they'll either maybe ask you to make a few tweaks, or they'll just go ahead and publish it. So I've been thinking a lot about that whole like pipelines versus buckets analogy from the Richest Man in Babylon book, and I realized this actually applies to a lot more than just like I tend to think about it in terms of product versus services, and services are like carrying buckets because you're always chained to doing hourly work, versus products that can sell without you. But it actually applies to a lot more things than just that. And this entrepreneur, like what I've done here is I've created a pipeline, or at least I still have to manually do the writing, but I've streamlined it to the point where I'm cutting out all of the waste of like just a query. I've been querying some smaller blogs, and it is such a pain. Like you have to go back and forth with them to get the idea. First you have to get their attention, then you have to get the idea approved, then you have to go through the editorial process, and there's like it could easily take me 10 hours to get an article published that I wrote in like 2 hours. There's just that much administrative overhead to the whole thing, and this is like boom, straight shot right into the queue for a major website. So and it just basically shortcuts the whole process really and streamlines it. So I'm pretty pumped about that. And what I'm planning to do is I'm going to spend a couple months just getting into a groove where I publish something every week with them. And I'm going to keep it really straightforward. Like look at what the stuff does really well on that site, and try to copy the format, copy everything, copy the headline style, everything, and just kind of get used to publishing the type of stuff that they publish. And then I'm going to probably try to branch out and try to bring a little bit more of the stuff that I want to talk about into it once I've got a little bit of a reputation. And then once I'm established with them, I'm going to probably go to Inc.com and say, hey, I'm publishing over here on Entrepreneur.com, and I'm sure that I'll be able to get an account with them. And then once I do that, I'm going to start syndicating. So instead of writing one article for Inc. and one article for Entrepreneur.com, I'm going to write one article for my blog that I republish on both of the other sites. And then from there, I'm going to add on Business Insider, Huffington Post, and probably a couple other ones. And that's pretty much the James Clear strategy.
Now, can you put the same article on the? I mean, I know you can republish from your site to one of theirs, but can you? Will they? They don't care. Basically, you just have to. I mean, they want to know that it's republished, but they won't care. Yeah, they won't care. Sometimes some of them have rules where like they want you to change the headline and like 20% of the content, or something like that. But for the most part, a lot of them just republish verbatim. So, but yeah, I'm pretty pumped. And like Entrepreneur.com is great because I have they give you a byline that appears at the top of the article with links to your social media accounts and your website. You can put any URL in there you want. So I made a special landing page for my daily newsletter. So when anybody clicks on my byline, they're going to go to that landing page. And then I also get a little bio that I put a link to my landing page in as well. So my expectations are that I will see a few, maybe a couple hundred click-throughs from each blog post as they go live, and then over a few months it'll start to add up.
I'll start to get some long tail traffic off of it. So I think it's going to have a pretty slow ramp up, and I'm basically bracing myself for that and not seeing much for the first 6 months or so.
It's funny how nothing is a meritocracy. Everything is a good old boy
Yeah.
system.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Even doesn't matter. Like you can't fight it. You just have to know the right
Yeah.
person, right? It's like
Yep.
because as soon as Perry Marshall says this guy's legit, you've got an account, right?
Yep.
It's like
Yeah.
so that's yeah.
Yeah, it really and I've been working with I've been talking to some of my coaching students about this too, and it's just like there's like the shortcuts. It's just, I mean, I could have waved my hand, I could have set my hair on fire and waved my arms in the air for months to get that guy's attention, or I
Oh,
could
yeah.
have worse, I could have tried to work my way up.
Yeah.
And publish at these smaller blogs for a while and pay my dues. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, screw that.
Yeah, it doesn't work. I mean, look at the story of the guy that invented sterilization process in hospitals, right? Right? Like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that story, but he basically like discovered that all these doctors were essentially killing
Yeah.
women
Yeah.
in childbirth, right?
Yep.
Because they
Right.
weren't washing their hands, right? And he figured out. I mean, he had conclusive proof. He was like saving thousands of lives,
Mhm.
and basically showing that these doctors that didn't do it were murderers because they knew this information that didn't do it because he was showing them, right?
Yep.
And because he went about it the wrong way because he didn't know the right people essentially because it's like he was shunned and hated and,
Yep.
and
I think he
actually
died in
delayed
an
it.
insane asylum.
Yeah. Oh no, he
Or so.
died from the
Oh, you're
sickness,
right.
from
Yeah,
the
you're right.
infection.
Yeah, he got
Because
yeah.
yeah. So because he was trying to prove it, but yeah, but I mean it just goes to show you like that's why you don't burn people. It's like it's always about people. It's
Yep.
always about who you
Yeah.
know and making the connections.
Yep.
And not about
Yeah.
the thing.
No, I think it helped. I think the one thing that helped me a lot was I had a couple. I actually sent him the SitePoint post, and I sent him
Yeah.
my post from Smart Passive Income. But even that, like, I got that basically because, well, no, I guess that one I managed to get Pat's attention just because it was such a big achievement. But
Yeah. Well, you had the King Sumo, and then
yeah,
yeah,
yep,
that helped.
exactly.
Yeah. So
Yep.
yeah. So
So, but yeah, so I'm pretty pumped about that. It's gonna still take me. It's gonna probably take me like 6 months before I really see much traction from that. But the wheels are in motion. I'm just really happy because this like whole how do I get traffic to my marketing blog thing has been really frustrating me for 2 years.
yeah.
And this is the first time I feel like I have a workable machine that if I just crank the handle, it'll do its thing.
Yeah.
So that's been like pretty big this week. I also I hired a couple of VAs, so we'll see. I think one of them actually just started listening to this show too. So
Nice.
so Nat, yeah, if you're listening, hi. Yeah, so Nat is he is actually a former programmer himself, and he mentioned in his application he mentioned Vim and Atom.
Okay.
So I was like, okay. And I don't think he knew at the time that I had did the Sublime Text thing. So I'm like, yeah, this guy's a fellow geek, and I'm excited because he's actually helping me right now. My as we speak, my web servers are my Linode server is under denial of service attack. So,
Oh wow.
yeah, I don't know if it's related. Like, so Linode has been basically under attack basically since Christmas, I think. So I don't know if it's related to that. I've been attacked a few times before, and I was able to just list the IP address in the IP tables and knock it down that way. But this time, I don't know. It seems like I haven't been able to do that. So so he's actually in the process of moving all of my sites over to DigitalOcean, and I'll probably gonna have two. I think I want to have two different boxes there for my different sites, and then so that's nice. He's got a marketing background, but he's also got the technical Linux server admin background, so he's able to do all that. And I didn't realize. So one thing he asked me about Varnish. We were setting up the DigitalOcean box, and he said that Nginx has caching built in. So
It does.
we're going to try that. What's your experience with it, John? Have you played with it or?
It's at a different level, so it's caching. I believe it's like it uses PHP fast cache, which again I know nothing about this stuff, so I might be just talking total crap. But my understanding of that is that it caches like at the object level instead of at the
Mm.
so it's like
So it's not caching HTML.
that's my understanding of it is that an
Okay.
Nginx is actually serving up the full like rendered page as a
Okay.
cache. Now it may have improved. I may just not know what the hell I'm talking about. So,
He sent me
but
a blog post where they were talking about that it should be able to handle like millions of page views. So,
okay.
um,
That the
yeah.
way I've got the Entreprogrammers site set up, I use that easy
Mm.
box thing or whatever, and
Yeah.
that worked out pretty well. And it's using I forget what it's using for caching, but it has like an
Okay.
automatic.
Yeah, because Varnish, honestly, like Varnish has been a real pain. It causes
Yeah.
problems because, like,
Yeah.
especially with like comments or like actually the King Sumo plugin, it causes problems with that because anytime you're doing like a form submit, you can run into problems with Varnish. So I'd be
That's
happy to
one.
get
Yeah.
rid of it.
Yeah, that's one thing I'd like to do. Like eventually we need to figure out for Simple Programmer too is to get a good Linux admin person
Yeah.
that's not too expensive because we don't need like but we need someone that understands the like basically just the WordPress and caching and the
Yeah.
like performance and can just like and it's not very expensive that we can just cheaply
Right.
have them do these kind of things. So
Yep. Yeah. So I'm working with Nat for a while, and then I'm also gonna work with I have another VA that I hired out of the Philippines, and I just gave her a couple tasks to do some like transcription, and so I'm just gonna take both these folks for a test drive and
yeah,
see. Like for me, the main thing I've told them is that the main thing I really want is I want this to be like fire and forget, where I
Yeah.
can assign a task. I don't even care necessarily how long it takes in most cases. I just want to know that I'm not going to have to babysit you, right?
yeah.
I don't want to have to like wonder if it's going to get done. I just want it to get done. And if it takes like even if it took like a little extra time, that's fine with me. I just want to know that I don't have to think about it again. So, and I'd like to know when it's done. Let me know when it's
Yeah.
done.
It's funny because like for those that are listening that are wondering like how to like from the aside from the technical skills how to ace a job
Yeah.
interview
Yep.
is to communicate that because
Yes.
as a business owner now hiring people
Right.
I could go into an interview now having that knowledge of what you just said Josh like
Mhm.
I realize that if that's what I'm looking for it's like if someone can tell me like look here's the thing like it doesn't matter. Other people might be more qualified. They might know more stuff. But here's the thing. This is what I can do for you. You tell me to do something. I'm going to figure out what needs to be done to get that done. You're not going to have to worry about it. You're not going to have to worry if it's going to be done. You're going to have to check up on me. I'm going to give you reports, tell you how I'm doing, give you constant communication. Now I'm going to get the thing done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not only
Yeah.
that, but I'm going to figure out. I'm going to anticipate what you're going to ask me to do, and I'm going to get that done too, and tell you how I did it.
Yep.
There you go. Bam. Slam
Yep.
dunk. Oh,
Yep.
are you serious? Yeah. And if you can actually deliver on that, you're the perfect
Yep.
employee.
Yep. Agreed.
Yep.
Agreed. And the other thing I'd add would be and ask questions if you don't understand something.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I'm not just
Yeah.
going to do the wrong thing. Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, like that's
Yeah.
yeah, that's really what I'm. So I'll have to see how it goes. I'm gonna keep looking till I find a couple people like that I can just hand stuff to. And so like my goal is what I want to have is I want to be able to focus on my writing. So I write my weekly I write my emails for the week and I compile them out of Scrivener into a shared Dropbox folder, and I don't have to think about it again.
Yeah.
And then they show up in the folder, and my VA takes them out, puts them into Drip, puts them into WordPress, puts them on Facebook, puts them on LinkedIn.
Exactly.
Updates. They get pulled into Edgar automatically via the RSS feed, but I want them like to go in and put hashtags and
Mhm.
update the automatic tweets. Like, I just want all that to happen in the background, and I don't have to think about it. And I just write my emails and publish them basically to a Dropbox folder.
Oh, speaking of Edgar, Edgar's finally fixed.
Yeah,
I
I
thought I
saw
was
they sent the
going
email out.
crazy. So I finally understand what the hell they were doing. Because I was like, okay, I had my Entrepreneur on Fire post. I
Mhm,
had created a new category for promotional like podcast stuff, and
mhm.
it kept on tweeting it. Like it tweeted it twice a day. It was tweeting it like 7 times a week. I was like, what the hell? I put this on random. I don't want this tweeted like ridiculous amounts of times. It's gonna like people are actually going to get annoyed by this. And there was a bunch of stuff like I kept on I have like a category for questions, and there's like 7 questions in there, and it's like, what's the hardest thing you're struggling with right now? Like, what's name a good book, or like, and these questions kept on getting
Name a
repeated.
good book.
So I'm like,
Name a good book. Name a good book.
right. So like yeah, so it's like just driving me nuts. But so what I'm reverse engineering what I think they were doing was when you put it on random or on any category, it was basically randomly selecting a category, not a category and the content. So your
Oh,
content wasn't being randomly. So if you have a category with one thing in it and you're randomly selecting a category, there's a 1 in 7 chance that that thing is going to be published, right?
right.
If you have
Yep.
7 categories, because if it selects that category, there's only one thing in there, so every time, so 1 in 7 chance.
Right.
So that makes sense. So now it randomly pulls from any category
Yep.
that it doesn't like weight them out.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
now
I
it's yeah.
I didn't have any most of my categories have a good number of tweets in them, like 10 or 20 at least. So I didn't
Yeah.
notice that. That's pretty funny.
So that was a big, yeah, because I was about ready to like kill Edgar. I was like, this is embarrassing me now. Like it's because of this stuff. I was like getting ready to disable all these because it kept on the same stuff, and it is getting old now. But now that it's totally random, it's much better. So it
Yeah.
was also even doing it from the use once category. So if you like old use once stuff, I was like,
Oh man.
yeah. So now I think it's working much better. I'm looking at my tweets history and it's like, okay, yeah, this looks like a random assortment of old blog posts, YouTube videos, everything. So
Cool. So yeah, that's pretty much been it for me. Um I wasn't so I hired these two VAs earlier this week, and then I wasn't planning. I've been wanting to move my sites off of Linode and onto DigitalOcean just because I kind of like it better. But it just seemed like it was going to be a huge hassle and a lot of work, and I've been kind of putting it off. But since I'm under attack now, and I just hired this VA who's also got a lot of Linux background, I was like, yeah, screw it, let's just try. And
yeah,
so he's doing it right now.
cool.
But yeah, so that's pretty much I think that's pretty much it for me.
All right. Well,
Just
should we wrap it up? Do thoughts for the week?
Yep.
there's always this like 10-second
Yeah.
pause. I mean,
I,
I'm just gonna go back to the pipelines thing. I'm really trying to put like, and I think I'm thinking about this VA thing in the same sort of way. Like I just want a little chute that I can drop my content into, and boom, it gets sent to all these different places, and I don't care how it happens. I just don't want to have to think about it. So I'm looking to kind of streamline. I'm looking to streamline things as much as possible, and I want to be like my goal for this year. Really, one of my big goals for this year is to just be prolific. And I can't do that if I'm like for just to get my emails and blog posts published every week is like half an hour to an hour of busy work. So eliminating that gives me a lot more time to focus on important stuff.
yeah, my thought for the week is mostly I was interviewed for a podcast yesterday, and I was thinking about talking to him about how a lot of things look really big and hard and scary, and you're thinking, okay, I want to be like the next John Lee Dumas or something. And sure, John worked his butt off, but if you would work just as hard doing the same things he was doing, then you could do it too. And a lot of people just think that these things are completely unattainable and impossible. And the honest truth is if you want it hard enough and work hard enough, then you can have it.
Yeah. Let's see. I think mine would be to to not take things personal, but instead to take them as a challenge. Like I think there's a lot of
Mm.
situations where like you need to just face reality, and the best way to do that is to just like take things as a challenge. If something's not going right, if someone's acting in a certain way, you can observe them as a and see the challenge, and then call yourself to that challenge, as opposed to reacting in negative ways, being upset, being hurt, being afraid, being whatever it is. I think especially we can, as entrepreneurs, can see something as a challenge and a challenge to be conquered, and a lot of times conquering that
Hmm.
like you can't conquer challenge unless you're willing to face reality. So I think a lot of time is spent denying reality, or wishing things were different, and instead by viewing things as a challenge, I've started to do that more. I've had a lot more success in, instead of, because then I'm not thinking I wish this were something different, or I wish I could change this thing. Instead, it's can I live up to this thing? Can I be,
Hmm.
it's more of, it's a call. It's calling you to a higher purpose, as opposed to bringing you down. And you can view a lot of life that way if you're willing to just make that small perspective change. All right.
Good
Cool.
thoughts. My
Yeah.
brain's catching up. Sorry.
I
All right. So next week, I think, are we all going to be here next week? We'll
think so.
see.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the week after that, I'll be traveling. John will probably be here, right?
I'll be
Because
here.
that'll be the tail end of the traffic conversion conference.
Yep. Yep. Cool. So
Yep.
that should
The
be
week
fun.
after that, I will be gone. So.
All righty.
All right.
Have a good week.
All right.
All
See
right.
you guys.
Bye.